the Pantheon, I would like to proudly welcome, this is Jesse Patrick, and today we're talking about his song, Fall Into Me. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Welcome to the Pantheon, my brother.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know we were like live on air now, but yeah, cool, awesome. What's up?
So, I was wondering, how long have you been doing this for?
I've been playing music since I was, I believe, 11 years old when I started playing trumpet. I played in youth all-city jazz bands as a trumpet player, and then age 12, Dad showed me Jimi Hendrix Experience, and then I had a Stratocaster.
Beautiful, man.
So that's kind of how that went.
You got it down, man. Jazz, rock and roll, that's the perfect life, man. That's awesome, man. I love it. So who and what are your inspirations there, Jesse?
Inspiration-wise, I mean, like I said, Jimi Hendrix has always been a big inspiration to me. He revolutionized the way that we play guitar. You know, rock and roll today wouldn't exist without Jimi Hendrix, in my personal opinion.
I named my son after him.
Oh, very, very nice. I'm also a big fan of B.B. King, Clapton. I love Steve Vai. There's so many that I could name. I've always been a fan of George Harrison. I try and take inspiration from everywhere, but I'm also like a big fan of like that Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder, like that soulful, old school Motown, beautiful. Like get on up feel, right?
I love it, man. So James Brown.
Oh yeah, James Brown is amazing. Like that same thing, another guy that revolutionized music.
Yeah, man.
As we know today, and the most sampled artist in the history as well. When we're talking about our hip hop generation here.
That is so cool, man. So, what your song "Fall Into Me"? Let's talk about this. What album is that song off of?
So actually, I am in the middle of recording my first solo album. It was actually only released as a single in 2015, where it got a little national airplay. And I've always had other bands. I had a band called Uncrowned Kings. We opened for April Wine. We had the pleasure of playing with lots of different bands. We were pretty busy for a little while in kind of like the 2012-13 era. Unfortunately, the band broke up before we could start recording. And then I had a band in Alberta called New Jack Break, which we were very, very popular for a little while. Same thing, started getting into the recording. Burning and Cheering musicians just couldn't stick together. So after, 3 or 4 different rebrands, I said enough of this, and now I'm just doing it on my own, and I'm re-releasing everything in the next year or so.
Yeah, don't let nobody bring you down, man. You're right on top, man. That's what I do. Don't depend on nobody.
No, well, and that's just it. I mean, on the other end of that, like you can't do it all by yourself, right? I've built a really good team. I've got a great networking team, marketing. We have a project manager. I do vocal coaching. Like I do lots of things to get to where I'm going. I have my own vision, but I'm not ignorant enough to think that I can do it all by myself. You get to a point where you can only do so much by yourself before you need to start delegating.
Exactly. I know exactly what you mean, brother. So let's talk about this. Like, what was it like creating the arrangement to this album? Like, was it difficult getting the right sound? How many takes did it take? And please tell me more about your process.
Absolutely. Well, this specific song was recorded in 2015, I believe, in Winnipeg with a producer named Doug Northcott, based out of Winnipeg. He's got a recording studio called Amplitude. It's really, really great, really affordable. When I was there, I was working with a band named Stacey James and the Kick. And, I've always had some tunes. And when it comes to arrangements, I pull from a lot of blues style, but you'll also notice there's a lot of like da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I used to actually be a cypher session artist, which is like when you're rapping on the spot. I used to do battle rap. That's how I came into writing, was in that hip hop era of battle rap, back when Cassidy and Freeway just came out and Sirius Jones and Murder Mook broke the internet. So that's really what I wanted to do. So I always carry that little bit of hip hop in it. So there's always got to be a bounce for me. I first find the bounce, I find the groove, and then I find the chords. I have melodies in my head. I have a musical ear so that I can just take the ideas from my head and put it on my guitar.
Very, very cool, my brother. So, like, what are you doing for the celebration of this album? Is it going to be on a CD, a vinyl, a cassette? Like, what are you doing for this? Like, I know it's going to be on most digital platforms, I take it.
Yes, when it releases, obviously, it's going to be available for digital distribution. We're kind of in a digital world now, so printing CDs has honestly become kind of a thing of the past. Kind of like 8-tracks and cassette tapes. Like you just don't see it anymore. Even cars.
And plus, too, it's so much cheaper. It's so much cheaper to get it straight up on digital than paying like hundreds upon hundreds of dollars just to get like 500 CDs to take with you on tour.
Absolutely, and I mean transporting that is hard too, right? Because like I had the pleasure of touring in the Bahamas this year. I'm looking at a tour in the UK with Chelsea Blues this year. You can only take so much stuff with you, and you can stack 1 million digital release cards with a code on it versus take CDs with you. And I find actually the trend has changed where people are kind of everyone wants to be old-fashioned in some way now, like that kind of hipster era, right? So I'm finding there's more interest in vinyl than there is in cassette. So I'd rather carry a few vinyls for the collectors versus have someone with a CD case that they're going to use to bust cocaine on versus listen to the music. Right?
The interesting thing, yeah, totally, man. The interesting thing about cassettes is like there is a resurgence in cassettes. Like when you think about when I was younger in the 90s and they brought out the Discman. I don't know if you remember that, but
I totally remember the Discman.
The CD Discman was shit. It was complete shit. You couldn't exercise with it. You couldn't travel with those CD Discmans. When you have a cassette Walkman, exactly like you just took the words right out of my mouth. The cassette was better, and it was more reliable than the CD. There was no skipping. There was no shit. It was straight up.
Yeah, and there was no scratching. Once your disc was scratched, then it was done, right?
It was useless.
Absolutely. Yeah, I never understood the idea of CDs, to be honest. And, I'm glad that we figured it out at least a little bit better. Then came the iPod, and that changed everything.
Mm-hmm. MP3 totally changed the world. The only thing that I don't like, and I don't know what you feel about it, but when they started introducing piracy and stealing artists' music, at first, a lot of us thought, hey, great, I lost a bunch of my music collection. It was stolen or I had to sell it, and great, I can download it. But you really think about it in the long run, it robs the artist. It's making it so that we're like this isn't even sustainable for you artists.
Absolutely. It's a much tougher go. And I mean, as streaming gets more popular, it's funny when things get more popular, the more money that they're making, the less they're willing to invest in it. Like even in Spotify, for example, you get a brand new weekly playlist, all brand new music, which is great. It's so anyone at home in a basement can record music now semi-professionally because there's so many interfaces and digital production that's pretty readily available, right? And I mean, the streaming, even since I was starting to release my own music in 2015, like the streaming percentages have gone down, and I'm finding now they don't even pay streaming now unless you have so many followers or subscribers because it's not worth paying out those streams anymore.
I know how that feels, brother. Like me and a buddy of mine put out an album for our band KMFBZ. We were functional from 2010 to 2014, and we just put out an album this year with all of our mixed tracks from like all those years, and we never saw that first payment.
Absolutely. And I mean, back in the day, you released records so you could play shows, right? And then people would buy your records. We're kind of in a point where we don't need to have records. We just need to be able to play shows, because that's the only way that we're getting paid. Streaming services have kind of taken the financial gain out of being a good musician. Do you find you get paid better by shows?
Or is it like a matter of the like how much merchandise you sell?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, again, it's tough because we've entered this world where music is so readily available and there's so many people that can play a little bit And what I've found over the last few years is the people that can play half decently to be performing in a bar have made it like they'll play for cheaper. So like good artists, you have to pay them more. And I find a lot of bars don't want to exist or don't want to invest in necessarily great music. Like open mics have kind of taken over. Open mics are a really cool concept, and you get to build. It's the start of building your foundation of your fan base.
Exactly.
But you know, they don't want to pay more than a couple $100 a night to have a band in. You know, like DJs. You know, that's kind of like where the DJ era comes in, where you're only paying one man for a show, but people are kind of getting past that era where they're looking for a little more substance in music. But you've gotten this 10-year gap where it was okay to pay one person $300 a night, which is a pretty good pay night, right? But now they're trying to get bands to perform for the same amount of time, you know. And it's a tough go for sure. It's definitely a lot more profitable to play solo shows than have a band these days.
I couldn't agree more. Do you feel that there is a possibility that could we theaterize music? Like, think of the way the movie theater runs. You've got 12 auditoriums. Instead of watching a movie, you get to watch a band. Do you think something like that would make a difference?
I never really thought of that concept, like having venues with like a bunch of different stages that you could just like kind of go and check out other artists.
Why the hell
is
not?
That what you're getting at? Or?
Yes. Like, think about it. You go to a movie theater, you see all the posters, you see all the stuff, and, well, why don't we change those movie posters and turn them into the music, the band's logo, or, you know, like something that's cool. Like, in a lot of ways, to me, music is theatrical. There's
absolutely, and your branding needs to be right.
Albums, there's so much story in theater to music. Like, you think about Andrew Lloyd Webber's Phantom of the Opera, the music and the acting just cannot be one without the other. So, like, when you look at bands like Gwar, King Diamond, and stuff like that, like, they have theater behind them. I know a lot of bands aren't really into that, but, like, still getting up there and being able to play on a stage that people will actually enjoy and respect them. That's my dream.
Absolutely. I mean, that's all personality too, though. Like, a lot of the appeal to my shows is I'm very high energy. You know, I'm very personable and very charming. You know, I add those traits into my music. You know, I like to, when I'm performing a show, I will tell the stories behind the songs, and then I'll sing the songs, and then they have the visual in my head. They're playing the movie in their head while I'm singing it. You know what I mean? Like, they're envisioning their characters and the movement and the storyline. Like, I do a lot of story mapping in my music. You know, there's a lot of people that overcomplicate their lyrics with more symbolism than they really need, and people don't necessarily get it, and then they lose it. You know, you get lost into background music, and that's the difference between a writer and a performer.
Yep.
You know, you need to captivate versus write. I've seen a lot of talented writers and musicians that just are not captivating to an audience. It's a whole different skill set. You know, to put that into a theater, you have to be able to keep that many people's attention, and you need to have the following to back that too. Like, it's a great idea, but
yep.
You know, if we're talking about developing artists, that's not really a good step because it's counterproductive to the paying the dues part. You know, building your fan base, building your empire, building your brand and your slogan and your trademark, because that's more important than necessarily, you know, the venue you're playing in. You can play in Carnegie Hall, but it doesn't matter if people aren't going to buy the tickets to come and see you.
Totally agree.
So, I mean, that's kind of my thought process on that. I mean, especially as an artist kind of in the middle right now where I haven't caught my big break, but I've had success enough that I can continue to invest in this on my own. You know, a lot of artists don't get that opportunity, and that's kind of the step that I would recommend that people take. Yes, absolutely, work the theatrical side of it. You know, I'm starting to get more into hosting events than playing shows in bars, because hosting events where you can have that eclecticness You know, it doesn't need to be one style of music or just one artist playing. You can have a collaboration, and people will pay for tickets for that.
Absolutely, brother. So what's next for you, Jesse? What do you have any tours, any festivals? Like, where can fans get up off of their asses and devices and come and see you?
Absolutely. Like I said, I'm in a bit of the middle of a rebrand right now. Like, I've learned from my mistakes, and I'm taking the right steps forward with marketing. Social media is a lot of what I'm focusing on right now. Getting my videos up on YouTube. Actually, one just released today. It's called Distraction. It's an acoustic live version in the studio. You can go check it out on my YouTube page. You can find me on all of your social medias at Jesse Patrick Music. The website's being built right now. I've done a brand new professional website that I'm launching. I tore down the old crappy one that was like a Wix page or something. Mm-hmm. I'm really in a development era. I believe that my brand is starting to speak for itself. And as I'm writing music, I'm slowly releasing it, and you're getting to watch the development, and that's the cool part. So you can find me pretty well everywhere, social media wise. You'll see lots of my music coming out on Spotify, stuff like that. And then when the album releases, it's going to be a big thing.
Well, we love you, man. It's your music is amazing. We look forward to hearing more. Well, Jesse, it's been a pleasure having you here on the Pantheon this evening. Keep making great music. Keep kicking ass. Horns high!
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Take one more step, head over heels, fall into you. I want you to take a final step, fall into me, yeah, fall into me. Trying to find that peace of mind on a middle ground. Mistakes I've made, but a price has been paid. Love's worth more than its weight in gold. So why do you force this type of extortion? Why you gotta torture me? Yeah. And why do you tease me, love me, or leave me, have me, or let me free? 'Cause I know I'm close to that edge, and if you take one more step, head over heels, fall into you. I want you to take a final step, fall into me, yeah, fall into me. I'm head over heels, falling to you. I want you to take a final step, fall into me. 'Cause I know I'm close to that edge. If I take one more step, head over heels, fall into you. I want you to take a final step, fall into me. Yeah, fall into me.